Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy New Memo here, back with another video. Today, I want to give you guys 5 simple tips that I believe can really help you step up your beat making. Now, I've been producing for a really long time, and these are some of the tips that I really believe have made my beats go from sounding amateur-y to sounding pro level. So let's get into it. I don't want to put too much fluff in the beginning. The first one is one of the things that I do really often to help me kind of start working on beats. I think sometimes the hardest part about making a beat is just getting started. So this first tip is don't be afraid to use samples and loops. I think that oftentimes we become obsessed with this idea of like, I want to make everything from scratch. And you know, a lot of the producers that you probably look up to use samples and loops a lot, even when you don't think they're using them. So for example, 40, Drake's producer, says that he often uses samples to start his beats, builds around this whole sample, creates this whole beat, and then afterwards just removes the sample and maybe plays something else in that space. And then you have like a beat that has full original production, and you know, originally you started it with a sample. So this is like one of the tools that you can use to really kind of step up your creativity and get started and maybe put together ideas that you otherwise wouldn't come up with if you were starting from scratch. And also, even if you decide not to remove a sample, let's say you found a sample on Splice that you really like, why not use it? People are really obsessed with this kind of like, you know, making music for other musicians, and they're like, yo, are other producers gonna respect me if I use samples, this and this and that? Stop thinking about that. The goal here is to make good music. If you including this sample, if you including this drum loop is gonna result in a good song, don't let anything get in the way of you making a good song. That is the goal of making music. Also, I have a feeling that I'm gonna bring up Splice and using loops and samples a lot during this video, so brace yourselves. Tip number 2, I know that a lot of beat makers often just kind of start playing stuff. You play a melody, then you find other stuff that goes with it and you're playing on top of it and building this song. And that's honestly how I made beats for a really long time. But one thing that has really helped me is trying to find out what key is my beat in. I don't want to go down the music theory rabbit hole, but there are some music theory basics that I think are really helpful. And something as simple as just knowing what key your beat is in could really help a lot. For example, again, Splice, I really like the feature where you can go in and put what key your beat is in, and then you get all these samples that are in the same key that you might be able to drag and drop and use on your beats. And you know, this is again another way to kind of unlock your creativity and maybe add sounds and add you know, little samples that maybe you wouldn't have thought to play yourself. So this is something that really has kind of added a lot of variety and makes my beats a lot more interesting whenever I can, you know, I know what key my song is in, find samples in that key, or find samples that are close enough to that key that I might be able to just mess around with a little bit or transpose. And then, you know, by doing that, I might create music that's a little bit more interesting, which to me is usually the goal. One tip that I'll give you guys that really helped me when I was first starting is using this chart here. This chart kind of lists out all the different keys, and it shows you which are the flats and which are the sharps in each key. And I don't have them memorized, but I keep that chart handy. You can put it in your notes in your iPhone, and let's say you start making a beat and you know how many sharps are in your beat or so on. You might be able to find what key your song is in. And also, if you're engineering an artist and they decide to use auto-tune, it's nice to just kind of automatically know what key your beat is on. It saves you a lot of time in a session. Tip number 1, don't be afraid to use loops and samples. Tip number 2, try to find the key of your song. That way you can find samples that are in key. Tip number 3, know the key of your song so then you can mess around with chords a little bit. One resource that I think is pretty cool is autochords.com. So when you go on autochords.com, you can pretty much like put what key you're looking for chords in, and it gives you a bunch of different options. So this is a way that you can, you know, if you ever kind of just want to mess around and use it kind of as a starting point. That's something that sometimes I do if I'm not feeling very inspired. Another thing that really comes in clutch with auto chords is that sometimes, let's say I just came up with some chords and I'm looking for a bridge or a different section. I'll use auto chords to find out maybe a different chord progression that I might be able to use that's also in the same key. So again, this is just adding on to that last tip, more benefits that you can get from knowing what key your song is in. So for those of you producers who are like often making just these 4 or 8 bar loops and you're just repeating it and the beat gets really boring, it's really nice to be able to create kind of B sections or bridges or, you know, separate sections where maybe the chords switch up and you make your beat a little bit more interesting. We all have those favorite songs of ours that maybe a minute and a half or 2 minutes in have a nice switch up, whether it's a bridge or just kind of a total beat switch up. It's nice to do that. It keeps your listener really entertained. So again, autochords.com is a very cool way to help you get a starting point or give you ideas for beat sections, bridges, or beat switch ups that you might be able to do in your beat. Falling within number 3 still, another thing that I do to help me get started on making beats is sometimes I might just play whatever songs I'm into at the time and play along with them and see if maybe I can, you know, find similar chords or something that I might want to use. I don't think it's stealing, it's just borrowing inspiration. It's very rare that anyone is using a chord progression that has never been used before. It's very unlikely. Number 4, this is a super important thing that's worth learning for anyone who really wants to be good at making beats. Layers. How to layer your sounds to make them sound big, to make them sound very present. Most times that I have a lead melody in a beat, it's not just one single virtual instrument that I'm playing, and you know, it's not just one track. Oftentimes I'm layering it 2, 3, 4 times with different sounds to help give it some body and make it sound a bit stronger. Oftentimes also I have chords. When I have chords and I really want them to hit hard, I'm doubling them up and using different sounds. I might use one sound patch from Omnisphere, then another one from Massive, and go to Massive again and use a different patch within Massive. Come back to Omnisphere, find another sound that goes well with it. This is what's called sound design, kind of putting a lot of different sounds together and making sure that they all mesh and have a good relationship together. Also, knowing how to EQ things out when it doesn't make sense. For example, sometimes I find sounds that are really cool, but maybe the highs are doing too much and it's kind of throwing off my main sound. So might want to roll off some of the highs, roll off some of the lows, EQ some stuff in the middle. Becoming really familiar with the EQ and using it as part of your actual like production tools is super duper important. And again, knowing when to layer your sounds and how to layer your sounds is a really important part of beat making, and it helps make your beat sound really, really full. Number 5, this is something that I feel like I neglected for so long just because I'm so sometimes focused on like the musicality of things and creating like cool melodies and cool chords and, you know, just sounds that mesh well together. But something that's super important is transition sounds and effects. And when I say transition sounds and effects, this is a whole, like, this could be anything. This could be a ad-lib where somebody's just going to like a swoosh sound that's gonna help you carry from one section to the other, to like a freaking alien sound that you might be able to insert when you drop out all the other instruments. Going along with the whole transitions and effects section here, I want to also give a huge shout out to automation. You want to use automation in a creative way. So automation allows you to automate certain effects. It might allow you to automatically turn on and off certain instruments of a song at certain sections. It's a whole rabbit hole. There's a lot of YouTube videos about it. Leave a comment below if you want me to do a video exclusively on automation and I can tell you all about it. It's one of those things that creates a lot of dynamics in a song, so it helps you, you know, with build-ups. It helps you with, you know, creating more interesting moments where things pop out, effects turn on, effects turn off. Okay, so I hope that this video didn't take that long. I wanted this video to be super short, so hopefully I nailed it. I don't know, I felt like I talked a lot, so maybe not. But thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you guys. For those of you new around here, my name is New Memo. Thank you guys for watching. Always remember, create with what you have. You don't need much. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Drop a comment below, let me know your favorite tip, or if you have any other tips that you want to share with the community, make sure to drop them in the comments. Also, I have another video where I demonstrate a lot of the tips that I mentioned in this video. The name of the video is how to make beats using Splice. I'll link it up right here, so go watch that so that way you can see a lot of these tips in actual practice. Thank you guys for watching. Much love. Peace out.